I give the talk and Milos and Turko give the demonstration. Terminology finding in the sketch engine, which is the work of the whole group. There are various problems with terminology. The first one is finding it, so I'm not concerned with defining it or saying how it fits in a conceptual system. I'm just concerned with finding it. And as for dictionaries, there's 3 ways to go about finding it. You can look in existing lists, or you can ask experts, or you can look in corpora. And needless to say, the approach I'm interested in is looking in corpora. To find terms in a corpus, there are 2 dimensions to think about, which have been called by Kermit Ashad and others unithood and termhood. Unithood is addressing the question, it only really applies to multi-word terms, and the question is, do those words belong together to form a unit? Termhood, does it belong to the domain? What we need to work out unithood is we need to do some grammar. Terms are noun phrases. I think nobody's shouted me down yet when I've said terms are noun phrases. So there are probably some terms that are adjective phrases or similar, but I'll just make this simplifying assumption and we'll leave it at that. It seems like at least nearly all of them are. We want the canonical form of the noun phrase. We'd like it to be without the article. You know, when people say base station rather than the base station in a term base. So we'd rather it was without the article. So the requirements here are a noun phrase grammar. And to be able to do that, the prerequisites for that are a tokenizer and lematizer and part-of-speech tagger for the language, and then some parsing machinery. So that's what we need to determine unithood. What we need to determine termhood is, termhood, we're going to compare the frequency of something in the frequency of a term candidate in the domain corpus with its frequency in a reference corpus. So this is the same kind of thing as establishing keywords. The requirements for that are a formula for keyness and a domain corpus and a reference corpus. So they're all the things that we need. Now we move across to thinking, what do we have in the sketch engine? And it's good news, because in terms of unithood, we already have all the parsing machinery. We've got the infrastructure for producing word sketches, which means we've got the infrastructure for writing grammars, handling the grammars, and parsing. So we don't need to do too much more than we've done already. We need to provide the noun phrase grammar. We've done that to date for Chinese, English, French, Japanese, Korean, Spanish, and Russian, with German and Portuguese following by Christmas. And we've done that in our preferred method, which is collaborating with experts in those languages. Experts who are usually friends as well, so that's nice. We've also, all these prerequisites, the tokenizer, the lematizer, the part-of-speech tagger, that's already, we've got that, or we've had to install that, or in many cases we've already had it installed, but we've had to sort of tighten things up to make sure everything's completely in place for those languages, and so we've done that for those languages. We've already got quite a few of those components for various other languages. Termhood, again, here we've got all the pieces. We've got a formula for keyness, and which is basically the ratio of the normalized frequency in the domain corpus to the normalized frequency in the reference corpus. We have reference corpora for something like 60 languages, which is, I'd say, Greg Greffenstedt's question to Ilan Kerneman earlier, well, how many languages do you want to cover? I kind of, maybe 100. I'm not sure. Is Zulu in the top 100? Zulu's round about top 100, I guess. Yeah. 16 million speakers means it probably is. My favourite table in the very splendid Ethnologue website is you can sort languages according to how many speakers they have. So I think it's Chinese, Spanish, English as the top three. But my approach to deciding which languages we should do next involves studying that table and seeing what the biggest languages that we haven't got yet are. So anyway, so reference corpora, yeah, we've got them for 60 languages or so, and we can crawl to add for more languages. And for domain corpora, we have existing machinery for uploading your own corpus or for building an instant corpus from the web. So we've got all the pieces. So, hey presto, here's a screenshot of the interface. We already had the interface which had the keywords in it. Now we've got, as well as the keywords on the left, we've got the terms, which can be 2 or more words on the right. This was a web boot-catted environment corpus, so we've got environment terminology there. I think we can also do it. It will also work for much more specialist domains. I hope you'll agree it's a fair. You know, they're kind of all valid. Or not quite. Other greenhouse, not very proud of other greenhouse. But I think everything else is elevated carbon dioxide is a bit wrong because that should be elevated carbon dioxide levels. Not perfect, but not far off. The processing chains, I think the biggest part of work here has been, in order to get a good list, if you're comparing frequencies of one corpus with another, it only works if the processing is exactly the same and the same versions of software and similar, because otherwise you get words that look very, or candidates that look that are very frequent, but they've been analysed slightly differently. So you get the true frequency in the one corpus and 0 in the other corpus, just because the analysis is different each time. So there's been quite a lot of work in taking taking those processing chains and modularizing them so we can apply them to the reference corpus, to the domain corpus in exactly the same way. Here are the processing chains for the languages we've handled. So English, French, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Russian, and Spanish. So these are the tools, all sort of. Yeah, none of them are tools we've made ourselves, but all of them are tools where which we've found or licensed, and in quite a lot of the cases we've done quite a lot of work with the developers of the tools to we hope we're contributing to, for example, to for the Korean and Japanese, we've had quite a lot of correspondence with the builders of those tools to say, hey, your tool falls down here, and is it giving us the right analysis there, with input from our Japanese and Korean experts. Current status of this work, our lead customer on this has been World Intellectual Property Organization. So the languages were the languages where they had the most immediate and pressing need. And their particular variant of the software has a slightly different, has some added functionality that they wanted. In the context of patents, which is what they're mostly looking at, the word device is a stop list word because device gets used in noun phrases all over the place. That's kind of what that's what patents are always about. So it would usually be, so in that domain, it's a stop list word or blacklist word. For all customers, the first version of this stuff for those 6 languages is on the Sketch Engine beta server. Here's just an example of the work we've done with WIPO for French, for Japanese. Here's one current challenge we scratch our heads about is whether to use lemmas or word forms. In general, you want to give the term in the canonical form, which will be the lemma, but not always, because, for example, nuée ardente was the top of the list for terms in top of the list that we generated when I did a volcanoes corpus for French, which is French for pyroclastic surge, if that means anything to anyone. Nuée is a feminine noun, and this term most often occurred in the plural. So if we give the word forms, we mostly give it as, we mostly give it as here, nuée ardente, which isn't quite right because we really want to be giving the canonical ought to be singular, but we mustn't lemmatize both words because then we get this, which I think you'll agree, Sylvia, and you shudder to see that because this is now giving a feminine noun with the canonical masculine form of the adjective. So that's horrible. Back. And
one second.
Yes, so we're puzzling how to get how. So we might have to do this a bit case by case to work out. Well, you to get the sort of feminine version, the feminine version of the canonical form of the adjective, which is sort of what we want in this case, and maybe there are lots of other special cases like that that we have to work out what to do with. So summary, the terminology finding needs a term grammar, a reference corpus, and domain corpus. All of those things are available in the Sketch Engine already for those languages. For those of you who would like this for your language, we can quite likely do it, but we need to install the processing chain on our server. There are some languages, including Estonian and Bulgarian, for example, where we've done lots of work and have really good resources, but the part-of-speech tagging has always been done by giving the data to the group that prepared the group we're working with, and they do the part-of-speech tagging. If that's the situation, then we can't offer this service because we can't do the tagging on our servers. But that's the constraint. Other than that, if you or other people who know that language can write the term grammar, which isn't that big a job, then we can offer this for your language too. And with that, I'll pass over to Milos.
Great. Good afternoon. Even though I've been told yesterday by Adam, it's not really an afternoon since we haven't had a lunch. But I sort of don't find it appropriate to say good morning at 1:45. And by the way, thanks for coming. It's the very last talk, so I think it deserves really a thank you. Thanks to Elena also. I think everybody knows that the Sketch Engine is celebrating the 10 years this year. So yeah, it was part of the reason why basically the whole Czech group rented a minibus and came by car in 24 hours. But it definitely paid off because it was a very pleasant stay and very friendly environment. So should maybe start or continue with the thanking you that Alan was saying too. Okay, how does the functionality look in Sketch Engine? As far as it's available only for user corpora, you may create a user corpus either by uploading your data, your either vertical files, PDF files, MS Word files, whatever. Or you may create a corpus using the web bootcat functionality that probably most of you will know. If I want to create a, oh yes, and I would almost forgot. Basically, all of us have had some talks either during the ELEX or during the Sketch Engine workshop the day before, except for our colleague Terka, who recently joined the company, and I'm very lucky that she will help me with pointing to the slides, because usually when I am moving mouse very fastly, people just then say, "Oh, it was so confusing." Okay, so just follow the green dot on the slides, and I think that's it. In order to create a webbootcat corpus, you click here on webbootcat, choose some name, whatever you would like. It can be, let's pick up ecology. Specify the language, English, and either you put some seed words that are used to query the search engines. In this case, it's Microsoft Bing, or you enter URLs that are used as the starting point for the crawling. So, what would it be? I think we can just reuse the ecology. I think you had there something like carbon dioxide, and what would be the very last one? Global warming. Great, thanks. And click on next. It will take a couple of minutes, which I probably won't wait for until the data are downloaded and processed. But what you end up with is a user corpus that looks like that if you open it. And here you have a new link, extra keywords and terms, which you simply click on, and that's it. You get the keywords and you get the terms. Screen is a bit too short. Is it readable, by the way, or should I zoom in? Should I zoom in? So that would be the keywords, and here would be the terms. As Adam pointed out, it's all noun phrases. The underlying formalism from the technical point of view is actually a standard word sketch grammar, which we in this case call term grammar. But as you see, it's nothing than, again, a set of SQL queries, as it would be in the case of a standard sketch grammar. And we are exploiting the colloc directive so that basically the whole match is put into the sketches, term sketches, let's call them term sketches from the technical point of view, and they are then used as the input for the algorithms that extract the most significant one. We have currently English, French, Japanese, Chinese, Korean. I've opened a couple of them in advance, so that would be for French. Here we go. And are there any Japanese speakers? Well, that's great, so this will be definitely correct. But I mean, the IPCC, for instance, is a good hit. That's sort of maybe unexpected, but currently it's only available from the link here that I was using. But in the future, we would like add it to the standard word list functionality. So it would be then here under the search attribute item in the word list, as it is the case for regular positional attributes, structural attributes, and so on. That's pretty much it. We are going to finish Russian, Spanish, and German very soon, which means German by the end of October, and I think Russian and Spanish in a month then, or something like that. And we would definitely like to hear feedback on that. So please try and tell us, what do you think?
Thank you very much, Adam and Milos, and to you. for this talk. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, right in the front row, please.
Yes, thank you for this really useful tool. I'm going to test it with my students shortly. I want to ask you I want to ask a question and make a suggestion. The question is, you said you were not very happy with greenhouse when you showed that screenshot. Greenhouse on itself, when you extracted terms automatically. Yeah, just I was wondering if you've actually compared what you get automatically with a raw list of n-grams to see what's been left out and if it's possible to do that.
Yeah, I'm evaluating this stuff, evaluating it is quite hard. There's one particular domain, sort of biotechnology, where there's a well-known corpus where I think the design this only occurred to us the other day, so we haven't done it yet. Where the designers of that corpus tell us they've identified all the terms in it, so you can use it as a test set to see how successful you're being. So that's on our plans. Yeah, I don't much like the idea of going through the raw term lists, so I'd rather do the evaluation with in a case where someone else has already done that sort of slog. But we do want to. We're definitely going to do that over the next couple of months or so.
Right, and thank you. And now a suggestion, or it's probably another question. Once you get your terms, would it be possible to do word sketches for the terms to be able to get information on the phraseology?
Yeah, well, there would be several approaches to that, but it's definitely an interesting idea. I sort of feel like I could mention one thing we are already working on for, more than a year, which is multi-level tokenization. So for some languages, it would be really handy for Chinese, Japanese, and so on to be able to handle the corpus in two ways. One of which is that you treat each character as a separate word, and another one that you use some better or worse tokenizer. And also for another approaches, this might be useful, and actually exploiting that functionality then for basically compiling sketches on a different token level, where you take the term as a single token, seems like a very reasonable thing to do. Yeah. So the short answer is yes, great idea, and it sort of fits with something that's roughly in the development plan already, but now you put it like that, we will prioritize it.
Thank you.
Ilan has a question or comment.
It will get there, I think.
Can you elaborate just about the multilingual possibilities?
Nobody wants to elaborate.
Well, let's see. I mean, from our point of view, it's we showed the bilingual word sketches on day before yesterday. So it's kind of, we've got all the pieces, but after a certain amount of eating, drinking, dancing, and sauna last night, I can't in real time work out a sensible way of putting them together, but we will be able to.
Okay, is there anybody else who'd like to
I'll
ask?
blame the bear.
If there's nothing more, then there's still to say thank you again. Thank you for joining us for this session. This was the very last session in this room, but please stay in here. I think there are farewell speeches and thank yous to be listened to at 1:00. Thanks.